you get here, you start doing Vine. People, you're collaborating, the following is growing. And then when were you able to look at it as a career? When did maybe the first brand deal come in? And you're like, oh, this is starting to work.
Yeah, Vine was interesting. They asked me to. Someone called me maybe and was like, oh, hey, we want you to go to Mike Tyson's mansion in Las Vegas. on Saturday.
That's awesome.
For $1,500.
Yeah,
and I was like, what?
I would have paid $1,500.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah. And I was like, well, what do I have to do? And they're like, just go there and just make like 3 vines. And I was like, okay. And they put me on. And I remember I had like a thing I had to do with my ex-wife. And I was like, I'm going to this thing. And she's like, oh, but we have, this. And I was like, I know, but I need the money. Like, we need the money. Like, I need to go. And so I went and I got there and I was like, okay, what do I have to do? And they're like, just make vines. That's all you have to do. Just make whatever you want. And that was it. I made $1,500. I couldn't believe it. And then I did pretty good on Vine. I made quite a bit of money, but then it died.
Yeah.
It went away. So the same day that Vine died, the same day my movie came out and didn't do well, Vine ended.
It was a tough week for you.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was a tough day. Yeah. And I called Brandon Calvillo and I was like, because I'm older. And I was like, yo, what's going on? What do you mean Vine's going away? And he's like, dude, we've all known this. And I'm like,
I didn't get CC'd in.
And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, dude, it's been dying for months. He's like, it's obviously going to go away. And I was like, no. And so then I was stuck and I had nothing because that was like 3 million people erased.
How was the mental health at that point?
That's crazy.
Did you take it tough?
I mean, I'm always crazy even when things are good. But yeah, I took it pretty tough. And then I was just like, okay, I don't know what. So then I started installing speakers for a living. And I would go to trade shows with my friend, and that was really great. And then I started to.
Did you get recognized a lot as like?
No, not at speaker shows.
Really? It's not at speaker shows.
Not my demographic, believe it or not.
Not at the Pioneer booth.
You should get back into it.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed like working manual labor.
Yeah, why is that?
I because like you could you don't have to think. You don't have to create anything. You don't have to think of anything funny.
Yeah.
And
that was a nice blissful thing back in the day when I worked at like a restaurant or something.
Right.
It's like when you leave the restaurant, you're not thinking of like, okay,
done.
I should bring 2 ranges next time because I'll like it better. It's just like whatever,
Yeah.
Right now, if I'm sure even now you're just constantly thinking of new things because you've got to stay on it. Okay, so how did you go from stereos to?
Because I didn't have a job. So I was just like, I didn't have Vine, so I couldn't make any brand deals. The app was deleted.
Gotcha.
And then, so I was like, okay, what do I do? Do I make another movie? And then
Did you have an Instagram following?
Not really, a little bit.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like sitting in my apartment, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm divorced. And I put on David's vlogs, and I started watching them, and I was like, wow, damn, and I knew David a little bit. I was like, you know what? Good for him. I was like, he fucking figured it out. He figured out something brand new. He's got something with all his friends. All his friends were funny. And that was back when he had like Liza and Alex. And like, I thought those two were really funny. And obviously Zane and Heath. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I probably watched like 25 vlogs in a row. And I was like, that's awesome. And then I just went out that night and I did stand up, and I was about to go on stage and I had all these jokes and I was like, this won't work because everyone in the audience is like 21.
Yeah.
So I just went up there and I started fucking making fun of everybody in the audience. I was like, at the time it was millennials, and I was like, you're all fucking spoiled. You're the fucking worst.
Yeah.
I'm offended. Like shit like that. Yeah. And I got off, and that was when I met David. It was really, really fucking weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then next day you guys were filming.
Yep.
And then
and every day after that.
How soon after that did you start to make money on YouTube? Like, did you start your own channel immediately?
I mean, David's my savior. It was like I was like riding around with him every day. And the great thing about David is he's like very, very, very grounded in the sense of like money and friends and feelings and like just everything. You can talk to him about anything. He's actually like very sensitive, so it's really fun. And he would just be like, "Are you broke?"
Very just
and I'd be like, "Yeah, like I owe like $80,000 in taxes."
Oh shit!
And he was like, "What?" He's like, "Oh shit, dude." He's also so blunt. You know how blunt he can be. He's just like, "Boy, that's not good, Jay." Like you're a fucking idiot. How did you manage that? I'm like, I know. And then one day we were riding in his car, and he was just like, "Well, why don't you just come into YouTube with me?" And I was like, how? I was like, how could I do that? I'm 43 years old. And he was like, just make a channel. And, I was like, no, David, no fucking way. Like, just no, it's so dumb. And he was like, oh, well, how much do you need to make a month to live? And I was like, $5,000. I need $5,000 a month. And he like took a second. He's like, that's easy. He's like, I can do that. He's like, you can do that. And I was like, no way. And so then I just did it. And it took me like 3 months, and then I did it. I made $5,000 a month. And then and then at one point, maybe like I made $35,000 a month.
That's
Holy
yeah.
Like not too, maybe like 6 months later.
And at that point, you're just like,
how did I get here?
Like, and it's tough. It's tough for me to process it because it's all because I was working with him. So it is kind of strange. You're like, oh, it's just because I'm working with him. But I did, try my best, and I thought I did bring a lot to the table too, because I had like 20 years of jokes that didn't ever go anywhere, were never used.
Yeah,
I had notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of stuff.
I don't like when the outside thinks that way. It's like, oh, you're only this because you got platformed by someone else. When in reality, this is new media. This is Friends, the TV show.
Right.
But it's on that's this generation's Friends. Like a lot of people will go back and watch David vlogs in the past, and you were cast as a character on a very hit TV show. Like it was all improv.
You guys have your own IMDb page,
Yeah, that was wild. When I saw that, I was like, wow, IMDb page.
Yeah, because somebody at IMDb clearly has the same thought. It's just like, this is literally a sitcom. You've always wanted a sitcom.
Right.
You guys are like your own individual characters.
Like say you were on Everybody Loves Raymond. You wouldn't think, and you were
you wouldn't think that.
You were a
think
huge
Brad
character
Garrett
on it.
got it at that himself. Yeah.
Or you're a huge character. You're like, you wouldn't say to yourself, oh, I'm only here because Raymond's good.
The other thing that pisses me off too is when people say like, oh, you ride David's dick, and obviously that would piss anyone off. And it's like, the truth is, he's my friend. Or someone will say, oh, David tells you what to do. No, David doesn't tell me what to do. My first thought is, how is this going to affect David? He's family to me.
Yeah.
So everything that we do, same thing with Zane and Heath. Like, I would never do anything that's going to fucking hurt Zane and Heath. And so we're all connected. We're all friends. And unfortunately, like what you do or what you say affects everybody. And so and I want to think about that. I want friends. When I watch the videos, my favorite part of it is that I watched this video Susie Antonian did. You know Susie?
Yeah.
She has this
I love her.
She has this series called Make Me Laugh. It's so brilliant. I couldn't believe she thought of it. I was like, this is such a fucking good idea. Because she loves to laugh. Do you have to go? And the best part of watching it is like, I'm really friends with her.
Yeah.
Like, I really love her, and that makes everything so special. And that's why I love YouTube. Mm-hmm. Because if I was on a sitcom, it'd be like, all right, see you in the fall.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't really, maybe I'd have like a good friendship with them. But when you're like creating together and you're really friends, it's like, to have that, it's the best.
No, that's what I found in your friend group. Initially, we had Mariah on, and Mariah invited us over, and we kind of got to know Heath and Zane a little bit, and those were kind of the first people. I'm very tight knit. I'm very close. I'm very loyal. A lot of people in LA are very fake. I'm from Georgia. I just like grounded people, and your guys' group immediately just was super kind, and once we all clicked, it was we mostly hang out with Zane and Heath and Mariah, and Ilya, but just those core of who I initially started knowing are just very down to earth people. I see why everyone clicks, because it is a family. Everyone actually cares. No one's chasing anything or feels like someone's higher than the other person. It's like somebody might get more views, but at the end of the day, you're thankful that they're doing that.
And everybody really looks out for each other. And if you need something,
they're there at the drop of a hat.
And when someone asks me for something in that group, I'm there.
Yeah.
At the drop of a hat. Yeah.
And that really, I think, shows through your guys' content.
Good.
Even though it's
so.
comedy and it's very lighthearted and stuff, it's just you can tell